Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. What was a energetic start to our first game of the night here, Winthrop versus 100 Thieves Nets. Lads, we just got to see what was a phenomenal back and forth between these two, and really, I want to start this off by just taking a look at the draft here, y'all. Like, this is a very fun thing to actually look at and kind of dissect between these two squads.
Yeah, the draft order and just the way that Winthrop approaches this is always really interesting. Like I said at the top of the show and last week, I think this is one of Winthrop's main strengths, which is pretty impressive considering they don't really have a coach on this squad. It's just their one of their substitute players, Grim, who's helping them out with this. So that's just a nice tidbit for you out here. The interesting thing that I think they've done with this draft in specific is they have they've given themselves a really solid mid jungle to play through and then go to get Vex ahead. And they've also gone for this Tahm Kench and they've banned away the Gwen, which I think actually sets up top lane really well too. Sniper doesn't really have a lot of champions that are really effective into this Tahm Kench. It's a really good just wall pick against his pool in general. And we haven't really seen him match the tank matchup quite yet in this tournament at all either. So I think this actually was a really solid approach. Not to mention the removal of the scaling picks from Insanity. I think this was actually a really good way to start the game off for Winthrop.
Coach, how are you feeling? Is this the counter strategy to Sniper here?
I mean, definitely it seemed like a solid outtake on it. You saw from like the first phase, like Smack said, really solid take away the 2 scaling mid picks, maybe put Insanity on something that provides less scaling, so then you can like isolate one part of the map, then focus it. And you can see they then played to that in the second half of their draft, where they banned like 2 bad Tahm Kench matchups, blind picked the Tahm Kench, and then they were kind of fine handshaking. Helping you saw you rush the anathemas just to make the side lane that much more unbearable for like the first 20 minutes. And they actually executed on it pretty well in that game. They definitely looked to isolate bot lane off like the first early plays. They definitely executed on their draft quite well. It just kind of like ended up being a little shaky later on, but they definitely took the game, and it should have been in their hands.
You get to see some impressive TF play. Qualifier, I want to jump onto you real quick with this. We haven't seen a lot of TF play inside of this tournament. How do you feel seeing Insanity coming in here and really giving us a really good display on how to play this champion?
No, yeah, I mean, I think Insanity was showing us all why this champion needs to get picked more. Twisted Fate, like we said, I think Winthrop did have a really good plan trying to take away agency from Insanity. He's one of the most veteran players, probably one of the strongest players in amateur, if not the strongest player in amateur. And so taking away the stuff like the Corki and the Victor, force him onto something that can't impact the game quite as hard, can't 1v9, but he still just picks the TF into a counter matchup, finds a way to still manage to 1v9 and bring the game back when it was looking like pretty doomed, right? Not gonna lie, after those first 5 or 6 minutes. So yeah, huge props to Insanity for just locking them in that TF, having the confidence and executing on it.
Speaking of doomed, by the way, we got some replays to show exactly what you're talking about here, because Winthrop had some chaotic things in mind. They had a plan, and it was just chaos from the get-go, really and truly. And Smats, they had a strategy for sure.
Yeah, I mean, calling it chaos is one thing. I think it was chaotic for 100 Thieves to even be in this position, but for Winthrop, it was really calculated. You can see Mordio is fully ready to set this one up. Mid lane, if you look at the mini-map, you'll see that a wave has just pushed in for Ivano, so he's fully prepared for this dive. By the time that they spot him and Mordio, it's already way too late. They're already underneath this turret. Array and Donbray are chunked, and they're super pushed back to a point where it's really easy for this dive to happen. The turret juggle, is really solid from Kenji and Vex. They take the absolute maximum, and by the time that they are able to get out, it's already done. And that was a really good way to break apart the game from the get-go. It's the reason that I was excited from the mid jungle being really volatile and powerful early game for this team as well, because it opens them up to do stuff like this.
And getting opened up for that is phenomenal. But man, there were some moments here. Fakin, we had a Nets replay here. It shows them playing a little bit disrespectful. Some things happened on Vision. I'm kind of curious on your perspective as a jungler, seeing how everything unfolds in this Nets clip.
Yeah, I mean, breaking down on this play here, you can see that just looking at subs, that Winthrop's actually down a lot of subs off the play they just made. But they actually go over a ward fully here, and you see that Morty is on top side of the map. They're really not playing to defend their bot lane a whole lot. Another like really easy dive coming in, and General Sniper wastes the TP. So they're just kind of throwing more resources into what appears to be a completely doomed side of the map instead of looking for trading. Right? They don't secure Herald. Morty doesn't go top side to even like catch a wave. They're just kind of getting a little bit complacent in the early game as a result of those like first two early skirmishes where Winthrop's really laying on the pressure. And like after a play like that, they should have been able to take full control of the map.
Is this a moment that would actually scare you as a jungler to go back down to the bot side?
Oh, I mean, if I look bot lane there, like, well, they just walked over a ward and crossed the river. I can't go bot lane there, right? If you think about it, like if you go bot lane, you're just gonna die as a result of it. Like you saw General Sniper burn TP as well. That's where you just kind of cut your losses and go play for top lane or secure Herald at the very least, right? Should be trading in situations like that.
But then they had a variable. They had a man on a mission. Insanity on the TF. Coming in hot. Fire, you talked about it, man. This champion should be picked more. Insanity gives a full display here in this replay.
Yeah, and, you know, really props to Insanity here. It's tough against the Sylas. This is this counter matchup where you can take your ult, match your roams, things like that. But here he finds a chance to have a good timer. They're able to find the engage. Vex isn't able to get his flash off. And then we start to see some of the disrespect out of Winthrop, right? This is a 2v4 play now after Kenji dies, and Morty was flashing in, right? Even if he got that kickoff, he's dead to rights, right? And Ivano dies as a result as well. And, you know, this is, Bacon and I were talking a little bit about, sometimes when you're ahead, the best play is just to do nothing. Exactly. Like, you have a Sylas who's going to be really ahead. You have an Ezreal who should be, like, a full item up on this Jinx the entire game. And in the end, it just came out to be, oh, the Jinx is actually up a full item because she picked up all these kills. They were able to make these plays. And this wasn't the only time Insanity did this. He was able to consistently outroam Ivano with the TF, make use of the strengths of the Twisted Fate pick there. He did have the one awkward TP to that top lane turret, which, again, is maybe 100 Thieves Next are reacting a little bit too hard, right? The Sniper TP to bot lane to try to save a play. The Insanity TP to top lane to try to save a play. You know, I think that's definitely something that they could clean up, but Insanity was definitely like the way that they got back into the game, and he deserves a lot of praise for that game.
I'd say it's also even more impressive considering the fact that that was after what happened mid lane tragic, which we didn't like really go over. Like that, he should have been fully out of the game. They even created room timers on him. So the fact that he was able to just kind of chill out, breathe, and then still find these opportunities to take the game back in their favor was really, really impressive on that TF.
And tragedy was in the name of the game for Winthrop fans, I feel like, as the game went on, because they were fighting back. They were having these great moments. But Smets, our final replay kind of shows a little bit of that nail getting dug into the coffin.
Yeah, I think it's time that we just visualize the nightmare that ends up happening after that bottom lane gank occurs from Insanity. We are now in the realm where 100 Thieves Next have a fed Jinx on 2 items, and you can't really get to her. You can't break through all of the front line, and Sniper's doing what he does best in this team fight as well on the flank. He's able to 1v2 this and survive. Just watch Array. It's really impressive to watch Sniper, but watch the health bar of Array and see just how full it is this entire time. He's able to just free fire throughout this entire 5v5 team fight. It's just so huge for Array to have all of the team backing him up. And I think that's really the main story for me after this game is 100 Thieves. They went behind in bottom lane, and even though Sniper was on a carry champion, they didn't give in and play cross map. They didn't just say, all right, bot lane's losing, we're going to play to top. They acknowledged that Array was on the big late game carry. They know just how good he is at playing those late games. Even though he was behind, they still put all the chips into his basket, and they show that this is a multifaceted team. They don't just play through top lane. They're going to be able to play through all 3 of those main carries on their squads from their lanes, and being able to win a game like this through bottom lane is just so scary for today and tomorrow if 100 Thieves do end up winning this series through this. It's just such a huge moment for me, and I think for a lot of fans watching this as well. Big props to Array.
Yeah, I mean, I think at one point when it was like 6-0 or something for Winthrop, I said, well, if 100 Thieves can win this game, it's really doomed for everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to make any crazy comparisons, but teams in the past who just can't lose and come back from like these huge deficits just to always win, makes me think of like old SKT, stuff like that, right? Maybe I'm going a bit out of the box there, but like that's the relative power level of 100 Thieves next.
That's high praise for sure. I mean, I would like to compare that power level to Vets. Vets had a phenomenal performance, was going Super Saiyan inside of that series, was busting it out. Those Mystic shots were crippling. They were hurting. And I think every single one of us were making like owl sound effects every time we saw like a Mystic shot hit. Just seeing the HP bar get depleted was disgusting. I want to bring up, Winthrop is taking blue side here inside of game number 2. Bacon, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about this squad taking the blue side, wanting to run it back with the strategy they might have?
I mean, you can definitely tell from like a draft perspective, they were very comfortable that game. I don't think anyone would be hard pressed to argue the fact that they got the draft that they wanted, right? They had locked down a General Sniper. They didn't play to him at all. They like won mid early through having like 2 winning matchups and then transitioned at the bot lane. It really just came down to execution afterwards, and like Aiden or Qualifier talked about before, but where they just kind of got to a point where they had to do nothing, but they just kind of forgot that TF ulti was in the game, and so they disrespected it and ended up throwing. I think it's going to be more than 100 Thieves to actually solidify more of a draft that allows them to protect their bot lane a little bit better, because it was kind of just the ball tossed to their court from disrespect from the side of Winthrop.
Thanks, Owen.
Thanks, man. I don't call you Five Fire. So.
Well, with blue side coming in here, lots of value to be had here. We are getting ready to hear from the ladies and gents that we're going to see give us into our Nets game here. So, Jolly, Beatdown, go ahead and take it on away.
Thank you so much, Travesty. Appreciate it. And of course, the rest of, that's a pretty beautiful analyst desk. I don't think anyone could deny that, right, Beatdown?
No, nobody could.
I am interested to see the blue side pickup, right? I think Five Fire is absolutely right. And, that was kind of the draft that Winthrop was going for, right? While some people might question the Tom Kench and the pick, I said it, and then it was kind of reinforced there on the analyst desk. The fact that Tom Kench, in terms of General Sniper, right, that's one that he doesn't really have an easy counter pick to. So yeah, you can take away like the Jace. I think we ended up seeing the Jace and the Gwen being taken away towards the top side. So they were pretty comfortable with running that one through. I think the interesting part is having an Enchantress in the bottom and then having someone like the Tom Kench in the top who really couldn't involve himself in the game until a lot later on.
I think ultimately, even though, I had my qualms with Winthrop's draft in game 1, I think they still played a really great game for a lot of it. There were small missteps and things 100 Next were able to capitalize on, but I think it bodes well for the series overall. I mean, I don't think it was that crazy to think that it's not that crazy to say that a lot of people didn't expect this series to really be close in many ways. So I think Winthrop showing that they can play against teams like 100 Next, who are favorites in the tournament, show kind of why they got to this point in the game in the first place.
And the Xin Zhao, which was banned out previously in the first phase by Winthrop, is going to be the first pickup. And you know what? I don't know about you, Beatdown, but I like that first pick so much better than the Lulu early pick, right? The bottom lane ended up working out really well. A lot of that having to do with Vex, though. And also, it was Donbray playing pretty far forward. So it was Donbray that got caught out a few times. Donbray was the one that ended up, taking a while to get items and actually get to the point where he could really frontline for the rest of the team. I like what Xin Zhao is able to offer, though, especially going into what we know 100 Thieves Next likes to play with.
Yeah, and I like it too overall, as long as Mordio doesn't build Trinity Force again. It kind of just fits in with what I was saying that they need here. Early game pressure, ability for Winthrop to have that agency in the first couple minutes into the game to make plays. And considering what we've seen Fnatic able to do all across the tournament, and honestly did a pretty solid job of game 1 as well, I think it's a good thing to see that pickup come through. Interestingly enough, Fnatic's going to take the Viego again. I mean, to the later parts of the game, it was monstrous coming out from him. And I mean, keeping Array on the Jinx, I think is just great.
Why not, right? Even
why not?
What? I think he was 0-2-1 at the early parts of the game, and by the time he
then
ended up dying, he had like over 5 kills, right? So you see the turnaround, you see how quick it is, and also how comfortable a lot of these players are from playing from behind. If that is the case, we had, I mean, just a barrage constantly from Winthrop towards the bottom half of the map. I would assume that they were going to see the same kind of thing, right? More of a roam from the mid lane towards the bottom than any sort of, we really didn't even see that much roaming coming out of the supports aside from Donbray a little bit at the beginning, a little bit from Kenji at the beginning, and then they realized, you know what, we got to stick with these carries, because for the first time in a while, it's not the mid lane, it's not the jungle necessarily that is getting a lot of these early kills. It is the ADC, and that's something that you need to support, because we know how much damage Vex can do here. I do like we are seeing, a pickup that we have seen quite a few times from Mabud here in the Gragas. Of course, that is, potentially flex, but we're going to be seeing the top lane. And
Probably,
Vex, man, did so much damage there as the Ezreal, a solid lock-in, and a good response to Jinx right now in the current meta.
And I like overall too I like the Gragas pick, just because it's kind of similar to the Tahm Kench, where even though it's not going to necessarily win you lane in a lot of matchups, it's very safe, very hard for you to like genuinely fall behind unless there's a supreme amount of jungle pressure on the top side. So I like this play for Mabud, and overall you give yourself more ways to fight, because Tahm Kench, it's a little tough when we're talking about engage, but Gragas, it's a little different. We're talking about body slams, we're talking about that exploding cask to disengage or to start fights off. I think I like this one a lot better, especially considering how 100 Thieves like to play their front to back. Being able to disrupt that with that ultimate, I think would be a really big deal here. And now that we're going to see these next couple of bans here, I do like the Braum takeaway. Just take away more defensive options here in the support role for Kenji. I think is going to be pretty important here, just because they already have so much disengage to begin with.
That and Ezreal, Braum is a great combination. The fact that you can shift in, you get the double auto off on that one on top of it, means that if you got concussive blows applied, it's so dang easy to get that combination actually fully stacked up there. And so we do have just the same exact thing coming from 100 Thieves. Of course, a little bit of change in those final picks. But, you were talking about the ability to disengage. That was something that I had mentioned during the last draft phase, or draft in game number 1, that I was a bit concerned about. You have the disengage opportunities from 100 Thieves. You didn't have it from Winthrop. Already, these 3 members, Xin Zhao has the Crescent Guard, has the ability to shove people off. You got the Exploding Cask, and as you said, the Body Slam. And then you got the Shift Away, too, coming from Vex here. So much more mobility and opportunities to either continue and engage or force out a disengage if necessary. The Jace was not banned away this time, as the Akali was swapped for that in the second ban phase for Winthrop, so it will be the lock-in, which is a pretty solid matchup here for General Sniper. And the Leona that I was kind of talking about being in high prio right now, Leona, Thresh, and Nautilus as those 3 champions, is another really good one that goes along with this Ezreal for solid engages.
Oh, I like it. It's gonna make the game. It's gonna make the game very confusing, because there's Vex the champion, Vex the player, but ultimately I think it is a really nice pick here, because we talk about Mordio, we talk about Kenji on all the engage that they have and their ways of going in. The thing I like about Vex is, even though she offers a lot of utility for the team, she needs people to go in with her, people to set her up when she goes in with the Shadow Surge and allow her to get kills and reset here. So I think the all in for Winthrop is great. I think that Vigar pick at the end is really nice, actually. So really good response from 100 Next. I am pretty sure, was it them who did this exact thing last week on the R5? Yeah, and it's actually going to be a little tougher now, because you basically you throw up the baby cage, and a lot of what Winthrop want to do is a little hurt now. So I think that's a really good response here from 100X. They have a lot of ways to create space, and if you play through Sniper in the early parts of the game where he gets strong, offers a lot of poke and damage with that Jace, it's going to be so hard for Winthrop to approach. And what's going to end up resulting in these situations is, even if they do approach, they get stunned up, they get a lot of damage onto them, or they're whittled down by Sniper, and so 100X decides to pull the trigger themselves.
Yeah, and now I see, I'm not certain about that. We did see the Gragas lock-in. I just want to double check that. Okay, it is Gragas, actually.
Oh, okay,
it is Gragas. It is Gragas. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I was
going
to
to
say
say
that's, that's interesting to pick out, especially considering the Jace wasn't banned, because Jace is definitely one of those into Tahm Kench that you just don't want to allow through, right? You got a lot more survivability going in with the Gragas with the passive, just with the opportunity to stay in these fights a lot longer. But Winthrop definitely, I feel like they weren't super upset with their first game draft. However, I can guarantee that they are so much more comfortable with what they have locked in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I still think overall this definitely has more of a cohesive identity with what they got for themselves here. And we'll have to see. I mean, they were down 0-1 against Wildcard last week, and they managed to bring it back. And even though Kaisa isn't in this game, Winthrop still have this chance to even up the score and see if they can take 100 next to a game 3 here. Of course, tournament lives are on the line as this bracket is still single elimination here. So will Winthrop be able to actually tie it up, or is 100 next just going to boot him from the tournament and just sit in the playoffs waiting room or the finals?
Well, we all know what they want, and we all know also, if anyone was here for the pre-show, you heard the desks themselves kind of consider, all right, we're looking at 100 Thieves going in, probably 2-0ing this one, and then also acknowledging they're probably going to go to finals and like 3-1 that, I think, was the prediction on this. So 100 Thieves, not only the favorites in this, but probably the favorites in the overall tournament. They have just performed in such a cohesive way that other teams haven't really quite shown themselves up on that level. The beginning of that game for Winthrop was fantastic, though, and I do think to acknowledge something that Qualifier said on the desk here right before we were swapped over to the draft, to acknowledge if you're that far ahead, don't make these risky plays, right? Kind of wait it out, and you can't let that happen for too long, because 100 Thieves will absolutely take advantage of that every single time. But just prep yourself for these fights, right? There were so many times that we saw it was Mabud primarily who was like, I want to start this fight, and you couldn't really tell if the rest of the team felt the same way. 100 Thieves also said, okay, we'll take that fight. And it does sound like before we hop into the game, we are going to take a very quick break just before hopping in. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with game number 2 here between Winthrop University and 100 Thieves next. Much for hanging with us. We just wanted to make sure that everything y'all are experiencing and viewing on your end is coming through clearly. Apparently we had a little bit of lag for you guys. We wanted to ensure that that won't be the case in game number 2, because it very well may be the last game in this series. Isn't that right, Beatdown?
That's right. The problem was fixed. It was all Jolly's fault, if I'm being honest. So it's been addressed, though. Don't worry. Yeah, she had a stern talking to and started sharing some of the bandwidth with Unified. That's pretty much what happened. You can quote me on that.
Yeah, you can quote Beatdown on that. Probably not Unified. I wouldn't quote Unified on that one. They might be a little bit upset.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure they'd be happy to blame you for their problems. So absolutely.
Yeah, it's true. They do have to give me a little bit of extra bandwidth as my ISP struggles. My ISP really does struggle, and I can blame the ISP very reasonably. All right.
I think anyone can.
Always blame the ISP. I'm excited about this game. I can feel, though, that Winthrop is probably pretty nervous, right? When you have your backs against the wall, when you have caused an upset, like in the last matchup, when you've made it to the playoffs, you fought so hard through this tournament, coming in at that 14th seed, which is absolutely insane to think about.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure to come through and say, darn it, we're going up against the number 1 team here, right? This is as difficult as it could possibly be, but still, they are putting on an excellent performance for us.
I was going to say, and I think ultimately, like, Winthrop definitely have a lot to be happy about, no matter how it ends up playing out here today. I mean, top 4 after being seeded 14 is really a good look for them here. As we're going to see how they manage to perform in this game, too. This time around, Kenji is on more of an engaged pick, so it's going to make this bot lane matchup more interesting, and it's going to make just Kenji's impact, I think, around the map early on more interesting as well.
Oh, for sure. And that gives some roamability now to both of these champions, right? When you got like the Lulu, who's able to poke down Donbray, it means that neither of them really is going to have a big opportunity for roaming. And we saw it in that game number 1, how we got some of the most minimal support roaming that I have seen in this entire tournament.
That's true.
But that's what happens, right? Because we had so much pressure coming from both Vex and Array. That just goes to show how solid and how equal these two ADCs are. Of course, given the bit of early game here, having the Q available as an initiation for Donbray does mean that they're going to have a little bit of extra pressure in the early parts of this game. No surprise, they have priority on the wave, and that will be the case for the next little bit until Kenji hits that level 3, until they get a little bit more survivability available for the team here. But man, the way that Vex has been playing on this Ezreal is quite incredible. And yeah, we do see Mordio has picked up his red buff, but is going to go in on the invade with this one. Going to try to steal it away from Fnatic. Reveals himself a little bit early. But hey, you know what? It works out.
Yeah, there's no fighting here. Mordio wins that absolutely 1,000
Yep.
billion %. So Fnatic just has to kind of accept that he loses his red buff there. And I did want to see Mordio overall, again, continue to make these early game plays and to kind of have that impact here. And we're actually getting a replay. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and see. Nice little 2x speed here as he's sprinting his way. Yeah, like this is kind of what we expect. Just for him to be able to make these plays early on, because it's Zhao, very strong duelist here, matched by very few other early game jungles. And well, Jolly Viego isn't one. So really
Yeah.
easy for him to do this.
As much as Fnatic loves to make these really early engages, really early ganks, really early plays in one of the lanes, as soon as he hits level 3, that's usually the case. When you have your red buff taken away like that, it removes that possibility, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I don't expect that Fnatic is going to allow that to prevent him really from going in on any of these engages, just because of who he is as a player, right? But that is a big pickup from Mordio, a really solid play. And once again, I mean, Mordio has become the playmaker here for his team, recognizing that there is a lot on my shoulders. There's a lot on Mabud's shoulders as well going into Sniper. Game number 1, he got first blood early on. Game number 2, he gets a nice early invade on top of it. It's going to be a bit of an engage here by Donbray, finds the hook, able to get the passive down, and Array takes no damage.
And such a big wave already. No, actually, yeah, Fnatic away.
Has no buffs on this one.
Yeah, I don't think he wants this one. I think overall, though, I like it. Looking for the play and also managing to kind of keep Mordio away from his top laner. I say that, but he's already going to show up here just to allow a nice wave shove to come through. But wow, Sniper, he's not afraid to play with a little bit of fire here, Jolly. I don't think we're actually going to see the dive come through. It's just so Maba doesn't lose too much XP. But overall, him showing does mean Fnatic can just kind of go back to farming and not worry too much about his laners being in trouble, at least for now.
Yeah, with Mabud being that low on mana, I think that, that was the biggest thing. All right, Mabud, you can't do anything. And with your autos, with your passive, sure, that's helpful. But my goodness, underneath the tower, we can't allow you to take any shots. That's, but still, you're absolutely right. A good play. No big differential in gold. We're only 5.5 minutes in. Granted, at this point in the game, when we were, a minute beyond, we had a 2k gold lead in favor of Winthrop. So at least 100 Thieves next. They're playing a little bit safer this time. And I do like that bit of pop back that we saw from Sniper and saying, all right, hey, you know what? You guys can come in here. I'm still going to walk away, but I can at least get this empowered cannon shot onto you and really reinforce the fact that Fnatic was here for a reason.
And overall, game definitely a bit slower than before here. It's looking like maybe we're seeing a similar play than what we did earlier on. I can see Ivano trying to get that wave shove and potentially allow Mordio to look for a play, but I don't think they're actually going to look instead.
Oh, no, it might be another first blood for Mordio. Nope, it's going to be the first blood for Kenji thanks to the Ignite. Great teamwork again coming from Winthrop, though, and once more, it is focused on this bottom lane.
And Fnatic, I think, was hoping for the extra help you get for finishing the Grump off, but unfortunately it does not play out into his favor. Kenji is there, and Kenji has a lot more impact at level 4 than he did in game 1 with the Lulu here, so it's a good punish. It means Dragon goes the way of Winthrop. Of course, it means Sniper can get a little more aggro topside because he knows Mordio isn't around, but ultimately, positive play coming through from Winthrop here, and I'm still looking for them to continue to keep this early game pressure on. It is just a little tough. I think mid is going to be very hard to gank unless you can force the cage out from Insanity early. So I think he's just going to be focused on pressuring bot lane, pressuring Fnatic in his own jungle.
Which has been the case, right? You're looking, you saw, Kenji is a higher level than Fnatic right now. That is painful to say. If you are a fan of 100 Thieves next on this one, they are going to look for the initiation on to Vex. Of course, the Ignite does come down on the other side. Kenji is there, able to help out the rest of the team. Barely the ultimate coming out of Ivano is going to miss, so no follow-up initiation on that. Mordio is in the wings. Insanity has moved down. The Crescent Guard comes out. Donbray takes just too much damage. A flash over the wall by Array right there. But Fnatic is in the wings, able to pick up Ivano, pick up the soul, but that is the end of his journey.
Oh, I mean, it is a little tough that Kenji's picking up a lot of these kills, but ultimately still Winthrop coming out on top with these trades here. Fnatic managing to get, or rather Insanity getting one with the Primordial Burst, but I think it's a nice play from Kenji over the wall in general, and even though Ivano couldn't join, because Mordio went in, managed to snag the blue buff, he's 2 levels up on Fnatic, and he's able to flash and use the Crescent Guard to separate the members here and allow Donbray to get pressure. No amount of resetting is going to help Fnatic at level 4 do anything else.
Yeah, it's true. That is so darn rough, and especially when the Heartbreaker allows you to navigate over the wall. It allows you to get to a safer position, re-engage onto the backline if you really want to, and Mordio is already more than halfway off that cooldown. Fnatic still sitting at level 5. That is such a rough position to be in, but very well observed by Winthrop to say, hey, we know that Fnatic is an aggressive jungler. We know that he's going to try to poke his head into any of these side lanes, or even the the mid lane. Having Insanity get some early pressure would be very helpful. Didn't come through, and so bullying out Fnatic is huge. That means that Winthrop not only find themselves that first dragon and the Cloud Drake, of course, they find themselves the early kills. They also managed to pick up the Rift Herald very early in this game.
Yeah, and this time around, they're proving to not really put as much pressure on the bottom side of the map here. Now the Kenji is on a roamer, and the Leona, who's able to have impact elsewhere. They're playing away from this Ezreal, who's usually pretty safe, as long as you buffer the dredge line like that. And look what that means. Kenji is here on this top side of the map. Sniper is going to basically lose his entire turret, and you just allow a lot more gold to go in Winthrop use pocket here. They're just continuing to take control of this early game like they did in game 1, but the question is going to be, Jolly, are they going to slip up and give 100 Next their way back in?
Well, that's exactly what 100 Next is going to be looking for here. I mean, a less than 9.5 minute burst tower is insane, though. A nice push there by Vex is going to get hooked
nice
up
hook.
by the dredge line, followed up by the root, followed up by the traps there. And Donbray, taking all of the tower aggro, is finally going to allow a kill to go over to Array.
Well, this is the thing that is tough. If Vex isn't able to dodge out on the dredge line, I mean, that's the result. And what does that mean here? Even though Winthrop get a lot of gold onto that top side of the map, being able to get all this gold on Array, he's up 30 CS, he's up a kill. It's so impactful just because of the fact that... Okay, I thought Array was in trouble. Just the fact that if you think about where the gold is going, I mean, yeah, you're putting pressure onto Sniper, but ultimately pushing the wave as far as it is means he actually gets to farm rather safely closer to his side of the map. And all that jungle pressure means Array is going to continue to kind of take control on this bottom side of the map. And he's playing Jinx, Jolly. So getting all this extra gold, already having the Kraken Slayer, is going to be very important here. Even though Mordio has the most amount of gold, it's tough. The remaining members, or rather the next 3 in the top 4, are all members of 100 Thieves Next.
Yeah, and look how far down Vex is, right? And look, it just popped above Ivano right there. But when you're talking to people you don't want to have all the gold on the side of 100 Thieves, it's Array, Insanity, and Sniper, specifically those 3 members, right? Yeah, they bullied out Fnatic. Fnatic doesn't really care because he's one of those players who really just facilitates his team, right? Sometimes he'll get a lot of the pickups in terms of those fights. Generally, though, no, he does an excellent job of feeding through some kills over. And now, looks like Winthrop trying to set up for another sneaky play here. They have eyes on Fnatic and Donbray, having just moved up towards that blue side of the lower jungle. They're okay with that. I mean, man, this is so much pressure coming from Winthrop. It is good for 100 Thieves Next, though, because as you said, with all the pressure on your lanes, you're going to have the creep advantage. And we can see that, across the board and everything aside from the jungle, which makes sense.
And that's why you're seeing, despite the kills, despite all the turret plates going through Winthrop, they're only up 1,000 gold. And now, we got a play coming.
Oh, the Hex Flash comes through. Donbray isn't able to get the hit and now gets
Can he even ult? He does!
Can he get out of here? The ult does come through. It's going to be the ultimate as well from Vex. It deals a lot of damage. The Heartbreaker there from Fnatic, but Mordio is going to find a double kill. So much damage coming out of this player with the flash.
Wow, and again, Donbray goes for the aggressive play, but it doesn't end up panning out. The numbers are there, and even though I talk about how Winthrop's lead isn't that big, a lot of gold is in Mordio's pocket specifically, so he's very happy to fight in the 1v1, especially when you think about where all the damage is coming from Jolly. He's got the Gore Drinker, and he's got the Steel Caps, which means it's going to be tough, even with Kraken, for Array to do any reasonable amounts of damage here. It's Insanity who's going to have that big impact, and Fnatic won't be able to do much. I mean, look at this replay. You're going to see the play. I mean, the dredge line missing is not good. The fear into that 3-talent strike means Donbray doesn't get to be as effective as he wants to in the skirmish here. And look at Insanity. He has to walk away very quickly, only gets to drop a couple spells as his jungler, well, gets flashed on.
Yeah. because Flash on the Crescent Guard, actually, I don't know if you saw, the Crescent Guard blasted 2 members away and forced the hit by the ultimate from Vex onto Insanity, which meant that Insanity especially could not be a part of that fight like he wanted to. He could not go in and help out the rest of the team. Beautifully done right there. The Super Mega Death Rocket is just barely going to miss. The Ignite is still on Vex, but it's probably not enough damage there. Speaking of damage, Mordio is going to be able to supply that. Luckily for 100 Thieves, next Fnatic is in the wings of this fight, but probably won't be needed. Mordio out.
I like it. He's charging the Spectral Ball just in case. You see Mordio come through with that Audacious Charge, but he doesn't go in. Ultimately, Winthrop still coming out positive in the early game. This time they managed to stack 2 early Drakes here, and it's looking like we have an Ocean Soul in the mist. So a very powerful soul that the squad can play for here as, oh god, my bud.
This is what's going to happen in this matchup, right? Sniper had the upper hand on this pick. Mawbud maybe going to try to flash. It's going to be the flash over the wall.
Oh my god.
Does not hit there. Mawbud feel really good about not dying in this instance.
Yeah, it did cost a lot. Flash, but and ultimately he's going to lose out on a bit of that next wave. But yeah, good on him to be able to manage to walk away from that one. Really aggressive play coming from Sniper, who's holding on to a lead here. He's getting closer to being able to build that momentum unit. Once the tier is fully stacked and he's at the 2 items with Shock Blast, they're going to hurt. People like Avano, people like Vex are going to have to be very, very careful here. Now as we see, XP, Insanity has the most XP in the game, but ultimately largely in favor of Winthrop here. As we're going to see, I think Insanity, no, he's not going to get it.
Does try to go for something here. Of course, Insanity recognizing, hey, I've got 2 assists. I haven't gone down. My opposition on the other hand.
Oh, yeah, if he cages, they're dead.
Oh, absolutely. You know, he's got the upper hand in most senses here, right? He has his first item finished out in the Everfrost there. That Vex not sitting as comfortably. Sniper now is in a bad position. You don't have a tower to disengage to. Mordio is going to be able to pop up so much damage here. Sniper will go down and see another kill over to Mordio, who's 4-0-2.
Yeah, and it's insane. But again, the trade that we're talking about here, now instead of answering, 100 Next are just continuing to play on this other side of the map here. And what does that mean? Array gets a nice chunk of gold into his pocket, almost purely based off farm, is going to be able to... Oh, yeah. Bye.
So much damage coming through with the QB enough. It's going to be falling up by the Shadow Surge. Oh my gosh, beautifully done. The Corrupting Potion barely keeping Avano alive in that fight.
Unless...
The flash comes out to dodge the Super Mega Death Rocket. We didn't see it, but I saw that charge on the left-hand side of the UI right there.
So as you say, Summoner Spell forced out here. Avano forced out in general as whoa, this is a bold play.
Oh, barely avoiding that event horizon right there is Mordio. Of course, going to walk back forward onto the traps. Donbray is going to be the target. Solar Flare does come out as well as the Crescent Guard, the teleport, including from Sniper. Is going to be able to jump up, and it's a shutdown in favor of Fnatic with the Heartbreaker. They're going to continue on this play, looking for the second tower for themselves. It's going to be Kenji with the engage. The Zenith blade forward, uses the stopwatch, gets zapped right there by Array, but Donbray and Fnatic just too darn low for them to continue this fight.
And you can just see how impactful Insanity is on with these event horizons coming from this Vigor. It's so hard. Even when Donbray looks like he's in too deep, the cage makes it hard for Winthrop to really push out further. And once that comes back off of cooldown, I mean, it's just very difficult for people like Avano, Vex to be able to get off the damage here. You just saw it in that fight. It's Mordio most of the time who's outputting a lot of that damage. And it's effectively a 4 versus 1.
That's a big shutdown, though, for Fnatic, who has died the most times on the team, more than Donbray, who has found himself in a couple of sticky situations, right? So, man, send some gold his way, give a couple more pickups his way, and we know how huge Viego gets the later you get in the game, right? This is one of those champions that I still just don't understand how it works out, in that even from behind, he scales so dang well. His survivability is insane compared to a lot of these other champions and a lot of junglers in general.
And it gets very insane later on. That's the big one here. Fnatic, of course, still down in XP, still down in gold compared to Mordio, who has been in control in this matchup in the earlier parts of the game, and will use that second Rift Herald that Winthrop picked up for themselves here. It's going to buy them easy access to their third Drake, and even if they get this pick, Soul Point is a big deal for 100 Next.
The mid splash by Kenji Kenji. It's going to be the Super Mega Death Rocket that picks up the kill right there. Kenji maybe looking for something, saying I'm in too deep. It's not going to be a steal. It means Mordio has to use the Crescent Guard. Ends up getting pushed into the event horizon, and the Dredge Line comes through to prevent it from getting over the wall. Beautifully done right there by Donbray. All of the ultimates used on the side of 100 Thieves next.
Wow, that's tough. I mean, ultimately for Winthrop, it is still a big deal. You get yourselves the soul point, and in doing so, at the very least, you do get yourself some time, and if you somehow manage to secure the soul, you're back into the game. Problem is, I think Mabud's about to get put out.
Here comes the Hallowed Mist, a shift away. It's actually going to be buffered right there as Vex does take the stun, but is too far. Thanks to the shift that it's not going to come into play. And now 100 Thieves next just gets to say, okay, we have a little bit more control around here, right? Array looking to pick up this tower, second tower, third tower of the game, right? And second tower for 100 Thieves next. So these little things that they're able to push in their favor is the reason that they have found themselves in the lead for gold. That, and also considering the fact that when we look at creep score across the board.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, once again, so heavily favoring 100 Thieves next, even when you consider the big difference that Mordio has for himself, it doesn't really change things because the damage dealers on the side of next are way far ahead.
I mean, especially look at Array. 60 CS up, almost. 2 kills, got 2 turrets, so many plates early on. I mean, this is a player they talked about on the desk. We talk about it every time this dude is on Summoner's Rift. He is just unreal. One of the best 80 carries outside of Academy last year, and he's shown it to us again this year. And so now he's gotten 2 items. He's at that part where Jinx starts to have a lot of fun, Jolly. And that's the thing Winthrop have to be careful of. Even though they got themselves this 3rd Dragon Soul, they are no longer really in a position to fight. If they find an opportunity to get a pick and walk away, okay, that's a different story. Or maybe Ivano finds a nice angle with this Shadow Surge so that they can try to get some resets off and get picks. But 5v5, that's not going to be their way. They have to make something happen, though, in the next 3 minutes. Otherwise, 100 Thieves are certain to pick up the Dragon.
Yeah, they gotta prep themselves, right? And they have to ensure that Mordio doesn't make another risky play there. Excuse me, was at 4-0, now 4-2. And of course, hey, if you want some tweets to be shown here, you can give us some of your feedback on how these games are going. Just make sure that you include hashtag #WeAreUnified in your tweet somewhere along there. And as long as it's not, you know, incredibly offensive, it's probably something that we're going to be able to show here during these games. We do love to see your guys' input. And of course, as we're casting, we're not really able to kind of take a side look at that Twitch chat. So we always appreciate production helping us out and giving us some of y'all's feedback, the viewers' feedback, because that matters to us almost as much as the players, right?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think the thing I'm most curious about is that guy who said 100 next tiers taste delicious or something. I wonder how he's doing. I wonder how he's holding up, you know?
Yeah. Our Apocalypse Now quoter.
Yeah, exactly. How you holding up, buddy?
Right, yeah. Shout out to you, dude. Shout out to you being the only one so far that actually has a tweet that has appeared on the screen so far. I like how production is like, hey guys, come on, right? We want a little bit more from you guys. It is still in favor of 100 Thieves next. Well done. It's Mordio, of course, that gets locked down right there. Insanity can at least poke a little bit of damage in response, but it's still 2 levels up that Mordio has over Fnatic beatdown.
Yeah, it's still quite a strong lead when it comes to XP here. And now you can see it, Mordio, Kenji moving together, trying to set up as much vision as they can, because the Baron is the big thing on the table at the moment here. They find a good angle where they can get a pick, they'd be able to start that Baron, and that would be their way back into the game. As you can see, at 100 next, almost a 3,000 gold lead now in their favor. A lot of it on Sniper on this Jace, a lot of it on Array, and a good amount is on Insanity as well. I also gotta say, Insanity with the Anathema's Rush is that's pretty funny. I wonder who he put it on. I would bet it's Mordio, because I think the reduced tenacity would be really nice for when he cages him.
Yeah, huge for that player. Definitely the expectation, especially having the lead, right? Because when we look at if we actually look at the scoreboard here, we're looking at the only kills going to Mordio and Kenji. It's going to be Sniper here who gets caught out. The Solar Flare is avoided thanks to the flash. Donbray's on the other side of the rest of 100 Thieves next is looking for the fight. The ultimate from Vex comes through. That's going to force Sniper out of this. The ultimate in response from Mamba doesn't pick up the kill. Sniper has to get the heck out of dodge. Once again, the Shadow Surge is just a little bit shy of hitting anyone available for the re-engage there for Ivano.
I'll tell you what, Donbray getting a lot of value off of that locket, being able to save Sniper's life. And with 15 seconds to this dragon, it couldn't be more important.
Mabud is going to get Dredgeline right here. That's going to be a
no.
nice pickup. The first kill here for Insanity, who still has not gone down yet this game. That means that 100 Thieves next are looking for another play. Vex, the flash forced out from just the dredge line. That's okay because it's going to be a flash order response by Fnatic, who uses the Heartbreaker to continue the fight. Sniper looking for Mordio on the solo side here. Follows up with the dredge line from Donbray. It's a lot of damage coming from Mordio, but it's not going to be enough when you're against 3 members. In the meantime, it's going to be Fnatic, who is chasing down Avano. Already used their flash, doesn't have an opportunity here, and this might be just like the situation we saw in game number 1 beatdown. Winthrop had the advantage the entirety of the game, and then it was a play like this around the 4th dragon of the game that gave them 2 objectives.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, Baron might not be on the table, but they are looking to fight.
Doesn't look like it. Donbray is
Oh,
caught
maybe
out
not.
once again, being that support who says, hey, you know what? I'm okay with sacrificing myself. Mabud going to use the body slam to try to get around as the blast cone was utilized by Fnatic. So 1 member goes down. They were able to pick up the dragon, though.
Right, and you delay the soul, which is a big deal here. And that fight, that's why I like that 100 Next kept pushing. They knew they had the angle to go back in. No Eon Vex, no summoner spells, and you can see it. It starts here because Sniper being able to back and teleport in gives them a lot of confidence. They're like, oh, wait a second, Maba, that's an illegal move. You can't be here and watch Vex. Ease has to flash away. No movement left for this Ezreal, as he wasn't landing very many Qs to begin with. So it just means after Sniper TPs back in, they can continue to push the pace. And even though they don't get the full ace, they get enough gold, enough members to make an attempt at both objectives here. And that's why they kept pushing. And if they actually managed to secure both, that would have been a doomer for Winthrop series here. So at least with Mabud's teleport, they're able to stop that Baron from coming through, but this is still a tough position to be in here for Winthrop University. They're still down about 3K, and 100 Next are in a really strong position just with, again, Donbray continues to find these angles and ways to start these fights off. People like Insanity are going to follow up with the CC. The range damage from Sniper and Array is just untouchable here. I think it's tough, too, especially for Avano, who so far hasn't had a successful Shadow Surge. Yeah, twice now.
Say poor Avano. Not only unsuccessful Shadow Surges, but really just not being able to participate in a lot of these fights, not being able to actually get close enough. And while Vex has plenty of range, plenty of opportunities for that, you got to stack up an item or two. We can see just the Everfrost has been completed. Of course, as you mentioned, the Anathema's change already done on the side of Insanity. So Avano has been kind of bullied around. Maybe not quite as much as we saw Sniper getting bullied in the early parts of the game, but it is Winthrop starting this one. The vision not quite through here. 400 Thieves next. They know there's only a couple members though, and they can't be doing that much damage. Donbray decides to go in on this one. The Event Horizon on that side. Mordio goes in with the Crescent Guard.
Not
but he's
enough.
solo against 4 members. Can they even take him down? No, Insanity has to flash away from this one. Avano going into stasis will be taken down here by Array, who still has plenty of help. And that's going to be a double kill. Make it a triple kill. Can we turn this one into a quadra kill here? No opportunity for a penta, but Mabud is on the run. Fnatic looking for the re-engage. Mabud has the has the flash, probably has the body slam right there, utilizes both of those to get away.
It's just that easy. 100 Next win yet another fight here, Jolly, and what does it mean? It's Baron time. 2 minutes till the next dragon. Nothing else. That's right. That spells Baron, as it's going to potentially spell the end for Winthrop University here, because this is going to be a huge injection of gold into 100 Next pocket, and you can just see it in how 100 Next team fight. How does Winthrop find their way back in?
That's a tough one, right? You've still got the opportunity potentially for a Dragon Soul. That's going to be up in 2 minutes. So that is a close one. But man, with the fact, again, consider Mordio started this game 4-0-2. I think it was 2 actually, and has not added any numbers to anything aside from dying multiple times. And he's done a great job of going in, engaging onto the backside, right? Using that Crescent Guard, throwing off the rest of the team. But when it comes to the remainder of Winthrop not being able to follow up, because Donbray is a bit of a peeler, a bit of an aggro stealer here. 400 Thieves next. 4v1 is not going to work out for Mordio.
And Donbray's just been so good all tournament long. It's just been crazy how this guy is here just subbing for 100 Next and has just been playing out of his mind so far. And
Sniper flashes away from this one. Has a lot of damage on Kenji. Might be a kill. Donbray takes some focus here right now. Again, it's going to get the fear there by Vex, by Avano. It is going to be the response, though, by 100 Thieves next. And the pickup goes over to Sniper, who was the one that got jumped on in that 2v1.
Man, it's so tough. Even when Winthrop, you win, 100 next win harder somewhere else. And what does that mean? They get control on this bottom side, even more gold in their pocket. And there's nothing Winthrop can trade for on the other side of the map. Yeah, Vex gets some chicken nuggets, which is all well and good. But ultimately, he's actually in a lot of trouble. No, he's going to be able to arcane shift away. But now, again, Winthrop denied a major win condition here with that Dragon Soul, because let's be real, 30 seconds from now, there isn't really a chance Winthrop are going to be able to do anything about it here. Oh my god, what happened to Vex? Is that the Shock Blast?
You know what? I didn't even. That was a little bit too high up the screen. I was looking at the
so
timers.
Fast.
I was looking at the timers, right? Because not only is it 10 seconds for the dragon, but it's a minute still that this Baron buff is applied. Okay, Ivano at least gets a little bit of responding pressure. We see Mordio picks up the opposing red buff, but in the meantime, the base is broken into by Winthrop. So how much success can you consider that having? And now your entire team is split. You're giving up what could have been the Dragon Soul for your team and setting 100 Thieves up next for just more gold in their pockets.
Yeah, and part of it is because you pointed it out. Mordio, so effective in the early minutes of this game. Problem ends up being that he put a lot of his attention topside, very much unlike what he did in game 1, to allow Vex to really pull ahead and give Winthrop the advantage they had for some time in game 1. But we're going to hold that thought as we watch the replay here. Sniper doing sniper things, being able to flash, dodge the solar flare and the body slam. He doesn't get the kill on the Kenji just yet, but he's got help on the way here. And this is all while Donbray ends up falling in the mid lane. Ultimately, it's a 1-for-2 trade, and you lost your support in the process. So you're like, whatever, it's fine. It's Donbray.
Donbray is so willing to sacrifice his life for the rest of the team. He is one of those players that acknowledges, I'm not getting the kills, right? I have survivability. I have this Lock of the Iron Solari to help you guys out. Nothing within what I'm doing is for me at all. And that means that, you know what, he's just playing everything perfectly, right? Like, you gotta commend a player for doing that and facing the gray screen and then saying, I did my job well. Even though I died, that was what my job was in this opportunity.
Right, you can see it, like, he's been part of 12 of 15 kills. That's like 80% kill participation there for the support of 100x, and like the dude's doing his job, as you say. Rest of the team doing it as well, as they have pushed this vision line very, very deep. And of course, the Herald Path informs Vex, okay, I can't defend this turret. I just gotta let this one go. I just gotta farm under my inhib turret, and this is such a tough spot here. You can see Mordio trying to wrap around in the mid lane, potentially cut off the next wave, potentially see if he can catch somebody out here.
Oh, that Event Horizon is going to hit 2 members, though, and that means it's going to be some easy pickups. Vex might find something on Array.
No flash on Array.
The death
That's a lot of gold.
Array. It's a pickup in favor of Vex as well. That feels really good as the barrage comes out. Fnatic jumping over the wall here. The blast goes to be used for Mordio to re-engage on this fight. Fnatic takes quite a bit of damage. The flash forward by Mordio on top of it as he already used the Crescent guard. Ends up getting jumped on in response here with Insanity on the back. You gotta be careful there, and Insanity is capable of providing so much damage. Vex gonna be the next target right here. Sniper managing to pick that one up. Kenji is being pinched out by Fnatic here. That means that Mubud is not gonna stay alive for very long. Kenji, the last surviving member right here, might make it out, but no, the flash
Q over the wall.
It doesn't matter. Q over the wall is all it's gonna take for a clean ace. Oh, sorry, almost clean. Array did go down, but an ace from 100 Thieves next.
And that's going to be the game as Sniper TPs in Jolly. 100 next, 2-0 Winthrop. And I got to say, game 2 looks clean as a whistle. 100 next get their grand final spot.
Not as though it was something we weren't anticipating. However, I got to say, Winthrop played this out so dang well. Just about 31 minutes into this game, 100 Thieves next say, hey, you know what? The first half doesn't matter. We don't care how ahead Winthrop gets here. And it was a lot slimmer, right? It was a lot slimmer of a lead that Winthrop had, but they definitely still had that lead early on. They had all the dragons. They had both of the Rift Heralds before Baron spawned. They had pressure. I mean, they had a 9.5-minute tower, right? And I think that was actually Vex that was able to help take that. Or actually, it was probably Mabud and Morty on the top. But the recognition by 100 Thieves X by saying, all right, you know what? Xin Zhao, Mordio is 4-0-2 right now. This is a scary, scary Xin, and he's kind of writing the script for where he's going. 100 Thieves just decided, all right, let's group up. It's already time, and that way they were able to just pinch focus onto Mordio every single fight.
And the thing that's so big too is that when you make these early plays, especially when you commit topside to your Gragas, you have to think to yourself, okay, what does this cost us? And Fnatic, especially on the side of 100x, who usually, you saw it in game 1, you see it in almost every game he is in. This guy is really good at playmaking for his laners in the early game, and also really good at reading the enemy jungler and responding to a lot of plays in turn. Sometimes it didn't work, like the first gank in game 1 in the mid laner, but ultimately this time around in game 2, instead they say, okay, you're putting a lot of focus top, no problem. We're gonna put all our chips into Array on the Jinx on the bottom side of the map. And even though that early lead came through, you think about where that gold went. I mean, Xin Zhao and Gragas on the top side, a lot of extra gold. And then Jinx gets a lot of extra gold. What are you taking, Jolly?
Right. I'm taking the late game, man. I'm taking that late game play in Jinx. But you know what? We're going to get a little bit of an interview here. Travesty is going to be talking to, of course, the man that we have been speaking of so much here in Donbray in that 2-0. Travesty, take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Unified Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier. In terms of, we got an interview with the man whose Nautilus hooks just don't miss. Donbray, how is it going, man?
Pretty good. It was a banger series. It was a
banger series. Yeah, well, look, you've been putting in some work. We've had some fans on the desk. We had guests that you were converting over to the way of Nautilus. How has it been going for you inside of this squad? I think you're the one member of 100 Thieves Nets that I haven't had the pleasure of talking with yet, man.
It's pretty good. My Nautilus is like probably my best champion, so I'm like beating up kids with it. It's pretty great. Yeah.
You just taking lunch money? Is that what the purpose of the Nautilus is here?
Yeah, taking down each team one by one.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing a fantastic job of that, and I want to ask, you guys had a 2-0 there, but it by far wasn't the clean series that I think some people might have looked at this matchup on paper and said, all right, 100 Thieves, absolutely favorited. You guys had some hiccups. Winthrop pulled out some moves on you guys. How did you guys feel in terms of comms going throughout that game?
Maybe just nerves or something, but I was like running it down kind of. Like, I knew we could still win, but yeah, I think it was just a bit sus. But it's okay. We pulled out with the dub, so yeah.
So where did the confidence for the win come from? You gotta give me the secret here.
Probably our mid laner. He's like destroying every single mid. It's super. Yeah.
You could say it's insanity, right?
Yeah, insanity. Yeah.
The pun's sitting there waiting for it. I'm gonna have to take it. All right. The plays that came out inside of that game, phenomenal. You guys really know how to work together as a team. I want to ask you guys, Nets matchup, Golden Guardians Academy, Immortals AoE. How you guys feeling? Is there a team that you guys prefer to face, or is there a team that you guys feel you're gonna face and you're just gonna start prepping for them now?
I think both teams are we're pretty good, and like all the other teams are like not the best. So I'm pretty sure we can beat anyone. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are trying to end this without dropping a single series, is what I'm hearing here. Finals is the easy goal. Give me the game score real quick for the final. We had people on the desk saying, without seeing the matchup, 3-0. Are you in agreement?
Oh, it's a best of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3-0. Yeah. I think 3-0. Yeah.
So just straight up, easy as can be for Donbray here. All right, well, Donbray, do you have any words that you would like to say for anybody? Do you want to have any kind of help for, being on Nautilus Studio all the time, or is that exactly where you want to be, or you got any words for your fans out there?
I don't know, but I think wait, I don't even know what the question was. I forgot, but yeah, okay. Yeah, I have no idea what you said, but okay.
You're good. Any words for any of the fans that might be looking at Donbray, the people you've converted from the Yumi lifestyle to Nautilus, man?
Thank you for watching me. Yeah. It's pretty nice, I guess.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Donbray, for coming in for the interview. Best of luck with your finals tomorrow. We'll have to see who it is, as we're going to send it back over to our desk.
But now it's us.
Lads, we're back at it. A 2-0 for 100 Thieves Nets. Some hearts definitely broken. The thropping has stopped. It's a sad day for Eric on the cast.
Well, yeah.
applications.
I'm sure Destrux will be okay. You know, his heart was in the right place, but
I can hear him
yeah, 100
screaming
Thieves.
already.
100 Thieves,
he had a
they're just
dream.
too good. Yeah, he did. You can't take that away from him, man. It's the
You never blame a
passion
man
is
for
definitely
believing.
Exactly.
Well, talking about passion, 100 Thieves Nets coming in, and they're feeling very passionate about the fact that they seem like Donbray gave a very passionate interview saying that he feels like they're just head and shoulders over everybody. He is ready to just get into the finals. And it's like, yeah, this is going to be 3-0 easy. He's with you guys. But it was not a convincing road here. Winthrop brought the fight to 100 Thieves in a lot of different situations here. We actually have a couple replays to actually discuss how these plays turned about with our first one, which I believe shows a little bit of Winthrop going for that edge here and some nice moves.
Yeah, the early games for Winthrop for both of these games ended up being really solid. In this game in specific, it was less large of a lead in the bottom lane, but Mordio did actually have some really solid invades throughout this entire early game. This is the second one where he actually ended up getting a kill fully onto Fnatic, alongside stealing the Gromp, I believe, getting that full heal from it. So alongside Kenji, he's just completely terrorizing this jungle matchup. Mordio did a really good job on both the Xin Zhao and the Lee Sin in game one.
It's definitely a nightmare, I feel like, for most junglers here. Bacon, you can probably back me up on this if you see a Leona in your jungle with the opposing jungle, right?
Yeah, especially if you can like notice ahead of time that they're gonna have priority over the wave. As soon as a support like that dips out of vision, you got to know that you're on a very small timer. So,
And you were very high up on it. But there was a play that happened shortly after this. Herald play comes into it, and you were not entirely happy about the way that they utilized Herald over inside the map.
yeah, definitely on their like 9-minute Herald play. After they secure the Herald, they bring their support up, but then they look to use it top lane, which doesn't really make sense because they picked Gragas to end up weak siding it anyways, and taking plates away from where you could be using it either mid or bot. Not only puts it on someone that is pretty low agency, it also ends up punishing the Ezreal. As you see that the Jinx is able to pick up 3 whole plates plus get a kill, and then because they take a tower so early top lane, the Jace is just easily able to access all this farm. It ends up working completely against their win condition. They accelerated their Gragas' game state, which doesn't really matter because the champ is kind of useless. But then they also put their Ezreal down so much. And as we saw from the previous game, once Array gets online on the Jinx, like, you guys are in for a world of hurt. I don't know how they really didn't think ahead on that one to just let Array get so strong.
Yeah, we were. I think we were inside of the desk.
It's a skill too.
Just hollering about this,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Like
It was such a gold swing.
Yeah, I mean,
Even
we
if Vex
were
doesn't die
already
there.
like questioning the Herald, and then when Vex E's in there and dies on their tower, we're just like, oh no, it's a complete disaster, right? But you know, props to Array, you know, and Sniper as well. Props to Sniper first off for leaving his tower, just letting it go down, not dying to the cross map play. And then props to Array for, you know, punishing appropriately on the bot side. And, you know, before this game, before this series, we were kind of talking about like, oh, maybe Vex is the way that Winthrop can get a lead over 100 Thieves next. And Array was like, what are you talking about? I got a 10 KDA for a reason. Just give me the Jinx. I'm going to go untouched in every single fight. If you put me behind, it doesn't even matter. I'm going to find some way back into the game, and I'm going to smurf it. So I think Array definitely showed up huge, and it is really scary for teams in the future because I think Winthrop did a really good job of attacking Sniper, of attacking Insanity, of attacking Fnatic, right? 2 invades before 6 minutes. And then Array just showed up and killed them all. So if you have to deal with every single threat on the enemy team, it's such a nightmare to deal with in draft, in prep, and in game. So 100 Thieves next definitely are well poised right now to take the finals.
Yeah, it just kind of turns into a game of whack-a-mole where you pop one down, 2 more pop up, and it's like, how do we deal with this?
you can never win whack-a-mole, right? Like there's no
Exactly.
winner. You're just surviving. But when it's time to survive, there was a very awkward situation that ended up happening, and we saw that Winthrop was still trying to fight, right? They were still trying to find angles. They were still up in gold, but do you have a replay to kind of show where things go wrong here, Fire, and you see where things start to turn.
Yeah, so this was where Winthrop was getting a solid lead early, but we see Insanity gets this chunk onto Ivano. Ivano goes back in kind of like a madman, almost dying. One more auto attack, I think, even would have done him in. But this is where, as Winthrop, yes, you've been doing well the whole game. Yes, you've been winning. And Ivano also first flashback from the rock here kind of sucks. But yes, you've been winning the whole game, and you can make some good plays, but you have to recognize here, this is a 3v4. Right? You're putting yourself willingly into a 3v4. And Mordio does a really good job here. Dodges the hook, dodges the cage, dodges everything. But it just doesn't matter because they have Insanity here, they have Array here, they have the Sniper TP. And I think this is just 100 Thieves playing really well as a team. They're really just all together, all coordinated. You know, Mordio's kind of almost going for a solo play, right? And even, I mean, Kenji here too goes in, has the stopwatch, but you're still down members. And yeah, the super useful Greg shows up at the end as Bacon was talking about. But like these are the kinds of plays that, you know, are very normal for amateurs. Like, oh, you take a man down fight, even though you had a lead, and you start to throw your lead bit by bit. And these are the plays that, like, if you're a team who's really gunning to be like one of those top 3 teams, you can't really make mistakes like those because like a team like 100 Thieves Next will always punish you, right? Sniper, no hesitation, even though his top lane wave wasn't in the best spot, just insta TP because he knows it's a good fight. He knows that they'll get a lead off it. So yeah, honestly, great play from 100 Thieves Next. You know, Winthrop, clean it up just a little bit when you guys are ahead. You know, like we said, you don't have to force plays. You can just chill. You know, if they got to that 4th dragon and they weren't down so much gold, maybe they could have gotten soul and gotten back into it, right? You never know. But it's definitely tough when you're going up against a team like 100 Thieves Next.
Yeah, it just ends up being baby steps, right? Step 1, gain your lead. Step 2, not end up throwing it. Step 3, try and win the game.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the question marks for step 3 and then step 4 profit there. I'll be honest. Smats, what's profit for you? Where you see us 100 Thieves squad? You were hyping them up earlier on.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts real quick after seeing this 2-0.
I mean, for 100 Thieves, it probably doesn't really feel like a 2-0 for them. They definitely are going to come off of that saying, hey, we lost 2 early games. Well, we won 2 late games. We need to think about how we're going to approach the early game for this new best of 5. Yes, Donbray, it is a best of 5 tomorrow. And we do need to see what improvements they can actually make. Are they going to play to Sniper a little bit more in that early game? Are they going to try to unlock Fnatic to make sure his jungle doesn't go super awry in the early game? These questions, they have a very limited time to answer them because that final is tomorrow. So I think over the next 20 hours or so, that's going to be racking their brains. They're going to have to try to figure that out. And if they are going to win this entire tournament like we predicted, that is something that they really do need to figure out. Array can't carry every single game. And you think about what the AD carries are that they're going to play against, it's either going to be Meech or Stixay. Both those guys have also have really crushing victories in the late game in their own right. So that's something that I'm thinking about for 100 Thieves. I know they are as well, and it's something to be excited about going into tomorrow. Maybe it's not going to be a 3-0.
Maybe not. We'll have to see. We got a little bit of time before then. We're getting our Nets lobby set up for you guys, as after that series, drops are indeed out, and we're going to send it over to a short break. When we come back, we're going to have the showdown of Golden Guardians Academy taking on Immortals AOE. So do not touch that browser, as we will be right back.